pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Even with all of these citizens. Great. Okay. Then we will start with Spotlight on Brentwood.
All right. Thanks everyone for giving me a few minutes of your time this evening. I'm going to do my best, so not feeling great, but these type of things will help me through it because there's lots of good news and lots of good events and success since the last time we got together. So just to remind everybody, these highlights are broken up into our strategic plan categories. So student success, school culture, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and unified community engagement. And just a reminder too that it's very hard sometimes to put these in one thing because it's very much a Venn diagram of like things that they blur the lines and they fit in a lot of different places. So as we go through, you'll probably recognize that. So let's go to our first one, student success. So our first highlight, these individuals here, this is members of the Brentwood High School Future Business Leaders of America, and 11 students, and I know I'm not great at math, but I know there's not 11 up there, so there had to have been a few absent on picture day. But 11 students recently represented Brentwood High School at the Future Business Leaders of America District Competition, showcasing professionalism and career-ready skills. 4 of those students qualified for the FBLA state competition. You had to finish in the top 4 in your district to move on to the state competition. So those individuals were freshman Rose Butler, and she finished first in social media marketing. Sophomore Caroline Presson finished second in event planning. Junior Otis Morgan finished second in his career portfolio. And then sophomore Sarah Paul qualified twice. She finished second in impromptu speaking and 4th in project management. So this is a relatively new program. If you remember, it was just 2 years ago we were celebrating Alex Tung because he was our first ever Brentwood High School state qualifier in FBLA. So now we have a bigger group and more state qualifiers. So very good story. So we know the state competition is scheduled for April 12th through 14th in Springfield, Missouri, so we'll keep an eye on that and see how we do. All right, one of my favorite ones every year, I gotta make sure I'm always there, and I have to get to both of them too, so I have to make sure. The Mark Twain and McGrath Spelling Bees. So Mark Twain and McGrath Elementary Schools recently hosted their annual Spelling Bees, celebrating academic excellence, focus, and perseverance. So starting at the top left and going around clockwise. At the top left, that is Mark Twain 4th grader Ivan B. And he finished first at Mark Twain. And then over to the right, that's a group shot of all the participants there. Down below, that's Luke C., a 3rd grader at McGrath. There were 2 3rd graders at McGrath in the finals. So that was nice to see young spellers. And then over to the left there are all the participants in the spelling bee. So I know every school, or most schools, do a spelling bee, or elementary schools do a spelling bee, and it just seems different. It's just something that kind of makes us unique in who we are. The event itself, the draw it gets from parents and people coming in to watch it. All the students coming down to sit and watch it and sitting quietly for longer than, at least sitting longer quietly than, I don't know, I would expect them to. But it's just very nice and fun and a great way to celebrate academic achievement and, courage and being going in front of a bunch of people to try and spell words, and I'm sitting over there, I'm like, can I spell this word? I don't know. So it's just really a fun event every year. I'm glad that I got to go, and I always make sure I get them on my calendar. So up next, and this is another one of my favorites too, the Brentwood Middle School 7th graders recently designed, built, and programmed robot dragsters as part of their Project Lead the Way engineering course. So that they used the VEX robot platform and split up into teams and applied concepts like mechanical systems, automation, and computer control to create vehicles capable of speed and precision. So the annual robot drag race challenged the student teams to race 20 feet as fast as possible, and then stop closest to the finish line as possible. So these 3 7th graders up here, the team of Andrew S., Alea W., and Ellie W., are the winners of the competition this year. So another great event, very much student-led by Sarah Pfeiffer and her students. Students as MCs and organizing things and getting the different heats down and whittling it down to the finals. So just another cool event that we can do, and a real hands-on learning type of event for our 7th graders. So very cool. All right, we'll move on to school culture. And this is a cool one too, and we look outside now and there's no snow. But just a little bit ago, we did have snow, and we had a lot of snow, and we had a couple snow days. But students from McGrath and Mark Twain recently enjoyed some snow day play. Another example of positive school culture and creating experiences that last a lifetime. And like I said, I have kids in elementary school. This was not something that would have happened. They're actively telling kids to stay off the snow, and we did too, but recognizing that it's just fun for kids to play in the snow. So, who knows what they'll remember from the 25-26 school year, but I bet they'll remember the day they got to go out and slide down the hill on their backsides in their
With Dr. Grammer.
Yeah.
She was regretting it. The adults are out there having fun too. The only issue is trying to teach them not to eat the snow. that was the biggest hurdle while I was there.
Yeah. So over to the left, sliding down the hill, and then over on the right, building a snowman and Mark Twain. So, but not to be left out, our littlest learners, our youngest learners, were also excited to resume outdoor recess activities, and the snow didn't slow them down one bit. And just looking at this photo, you can kind of tell, but you might notice in the back the paved parts and those areas, our parking lot, sidewalks, and other high traffic outdoor areas. The condition of those were outstanding. Our facilities team, a special thanks to them for all their hard work and long hours of plowing, shoveling, and salting surfaces to make sure all of our campuses were ready and safe for students and staff and visitors to come back after we had those snow days. So you can kind of tell right there, but I mean, just our campuses looked great, and everybody was safe. And it was a lot of snow, and it was a lot of cold, and it hung around for a while. And every day, our folks were making sure that everything was safe and ready to go, and our custodians too, because all that stuff gets tracked into the buildings every day. So hitting those main entrances and those floors and getting those cleaned up every day. So special thanks to them. Okay. So moving on to the Brentwood Middle School PTO hosted their music bingo fundraiser at the end of January 31st, at their Shrewsbury City Center. So they also included an online silent auction. So you see over to the left, Dr. Wayner in his Prince Purple Rain t-shirt. If you guys don't know, he's a humongous Prince fan. And if you get him started, he won't quit. So I think like him coming to Brentwood and being able to wear purple and purple rain. Anything that's his
It was
jam.
fate.
Yeah. But the event drew a strong community support with almost 100 tickets sold and generous food donations from local partners. You see that in the bottom right. And then music-themed desserts made by a middle school parent up there at the top right. So the event raised almost $10,000 to support middle school programs and student experiences. So just a great example of our PTOs coming through and getting things organized and getting people together and doing fun events to help support our students and staff at schools. All right, which that one, like I said, could have been in Unified Community Engagement, but we'll just keep going. All right, and then this time last month, board meeting last month, was this event here. So we were collecting this big novelty check right around this time last month. This was the Bragging Rights Classic and a donation from Community America Credit Union. So last month, Brentwood High School teamed up with Maplewood Richmond Heights High School and Community America Credit Union for the Bragging Rights Classic, an exciting basketball doubleheader that included a $500 donation from Community America to help strengthen our athletics and activities programs. So just a good example of community engagement, looking for opportunities to connect with local businesses, and a special shout out to Janicia Tuiava. Her impact is already being felt, so something we had no clue about, but she's got her feet on the ground and making connections in the community and found an extra $500 for us that we have not had before. So, yeah. All right. And our next one, a photo collage of the Brentwood Chili Cook-Off. So Brentwood's annual Chili Cook-Off brought students, staff, and families together for an evening of friendly competition and community fun. The event raised $1,243 to support a local charity. $1,000 of that went to Operation Food Search, right? Yeah, $1,000 of that went to Operation Food Search, reflecting the generosity of our school community. So special thanks to the Brentwood High School National Honor Society, the Brentwood Middle School National Junior Honor Society, students for organizing the successful event, and to everyone who entered a chili or volunteered or stopped by to eat, sample. It was a great night. There was basketball going on at the same time, so lots of buzz and lots of activity and a really fun event that we look forward to doing next year too. All right. And then just from a couple weeks ago, Brentwood's hosted its first ever STEM Fest on February 5th, welcoming students, families, and community members for an evening of hands-on discovery. The middle and high school commons and gym were transformed into an interactive learning hub featuring robotics, coding, virtual reality, environmental science, and engineering challenges. So students were able to explore real-world STEM concepts through experimentation and problem solving, and helping them see themselves as innovators and future problem solvers and all the different types of things that STEM can touch. Very cool event. And so successful that we joked to the organizers that it was such a success that we have to do it next year. So they've already
got it on the books.
We already
got it on the calendar.
Scheduled the event for next year. So mark your calendars for, I think it's a Thursday, right? Thursday, February 4th, 2027, for STEM Fest 2027. So then just because this was such a wonderful event, a lot of hard work and planning and organization went into this. So just to give our three folks, and if you want to come up.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Come on up. Okay, so I want to thank these amazing ladies here. got Miss Emily, and we have, oh my gosh, Sarah, and Marissa, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm being put on the spot. I'm so sorry. We want to thank you. This event, I worked in a district that tried to make a district STEM night for over 6 years that I was there. And they were never able to really like pull it off together to get the entire community to come together. And these ladies did such an amazing job that the Ladue people came to our STEM event to steal their ideas and figure out how to make it as successful. We had, what was it, 415 something people attend. What I think was really special is the way that you were able to get everybody involved. We had students, we had community members. You know, I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and a fourth grader, and three of them had fun, were engaged. They've got the thing Andrew made still in their room and haven't spilled it all over. So I just want to give a huge thank you. Literally, these ladies emailed us last year, was it last year? Right around this last year, we're like, we would really love to do a STEM Fest, and all Ronnie and I did was say yes. And they were like, took it and ran with it. We also had an alum donate $1,000 because he heard what an amazing experience this was, and he just wanted to help out. So really excited about that. So as a token of our gratitude, you will be receiving an email tomorrow for a $50 gift card to the Brentwood Swag Store to buy some Brentwood swag for yourselves, to thank you for your hard work. It is literally the smallest token of our appreciation that we can give you. That night I kept being like, I don't know, can I give you a snow day? Like, I don't know if I can give you a day off. But it was a really amazing and exciting night, and I cannot thank you enough for the work, because I know that it was a huge lift, but it brought all of the things we've been working on for a long time together, and you knocked it out of the park. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm sorry about that, Marissa. I just got a little flustered. So sorry.
All right, that's all we have for this evening. Any questions or anything?
Outstanding as usual.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, if we could do roll call, Kate, please.
Here.
I'm here.
She's here. She's on my
computer.
Ryan Dodson.
Here.
Ryan Flynn.
Here.
Keith Redenberg.
Here.
Katie Ball.
Here.
Lindsey Spencer.
Here. Great, thank you. If I could get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as outlined. Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is
Aye.
approved. Thank you. That was the superintendent's report.
First up, we have Dr. Miller and Ms. Robertson. I'm having a hard time tonight, I apologize, to come down and present the support staff, educational support staff master agreement.
Thank you for hearing us out. So we brought a draft or master agreement that we're asking you to accept tonight. We have a fabulous support staff. They make Brentwood special for everybody. They are really important, and so we wanted to work hard to give them just a good working conditions compensation that just outlines it. So I'll let you lead.
On behalf of the BESP NTB negotiation team, I'm pleased to share that the BNEA DSP membership has officially ratified the Memorandum of Agreement reached through our recent negotiations. This agreement reflects thoughtful discussion, collaboration, and a solution-focused process that showed a shared commitment to our ESP employees while maintaining the district's operational and physical responsibility. At this time, we respectfully request the board's approval of the ESP MOA so that it may be formally adopted and implemented according to its terms.
All right.
Questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement of education support staff as outlined.
Second.
Discussion? I got to participate, and I just wanted to say it was an outstanding process. great job leading the process, Andrew helping facilitate it, and it was so fantastic to work with everyone around the table to come up with an agreement that I think everyone is very excited about, and it was a fun day. Don't always say that about things, but it was actually a very fun day.
Well, and I think everybody learned a little bit
Yeah.
about, what's expected and what's,
Mhm.
just needed to know.
Yeah,
So thank you.
It's exciting. So thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
That is approved.
Next up is tuition rate, Mr. Matt Norrid.
Good evening. There's occasions where we may ask for a tuition rate to be applied for legally required situations or applying tuition to residents or non-resident students that may be interested in attending. The rates that we have presented are based upon the annual Secretary Board reports that were audited by our auditors, and also the attendance information that was reported to DESE as part of last year's fiscal year. We are asking for the tuition rates for 612 to be adopted at $19,445, and the tuition rate for K5 at $20,135.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the tuition rate as outlined. Second.
Discussion?
I just want to say that I'm thrilled that we have been able to come together and find a more approachable number. I mean, it's high still, but I am very, very pleased, and I thank you for your legwork and finding comps and finding a way to bring it down from what it was.
And we are lower than Clayton.
Yes, and for coming in under Clayton.
That wasn't the intent, but it did work. It did work when we ran the numbers.
So I'm kind of curious, we're approving this tuition rate, but I recall last year that we approved a different amount. Are we gonna have to approve a different amount for that?
So
Or are
every year-
these both the same?
So these are, I should have been more clear, I apologize. These are the 26-27 tuition rates that we're
Okay.
asking for approval. So each year we'll bring forward a recommendation for a tuition rate that would adjust based on the previous year's financial information.
It's every February.
Yeah, we always bring it every year.
Oh, it was already, it was
Yeah, it's
February?
yeah,
It
isn't
was-
that crazy?
It has been a full year.
I know,
It
it's
does not
crazy
feel
to
like
think
it.
it's, yeah.
Wow, okay.
No, it does not,
Yeah,
but
this
yes,
is-
it's
this
once a
is-
year.
This is our annual process, so this is always an adoption that we ask
Okay.
for.
Okay.
And it's tied specifically to there are
Mhm.
state requirements for us to establish
Right.
these tuition rates.
Okay.
I'm curious to see how, and if, I don't expect a huge impact, but as we look for a robust student population, I think this is a great step.
Well, now we do already have a couple people that have reached out, and we'll be able to circle back around to them with this rate now, once it's approved, and we will know more in July.
Great. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Lloyd?
Just to reiterate, there's still limitations on
Yep.
how many students can come in to where we're not
Yes.
affecting class sizes.
Yes, we put, and that's in the policy that we approved, yeah, and I know why you're reiterating it, but it is in the policy, I know why you're reiterating, that in our policy, we accept tuition for secondary because that is where we have room. So we will accept the tuition. We have to set it for elementary
Yes.
and secondary because of state statute, but our policy only has us accepting tuition for secondary students because that is where we have space.
Clarification, good
Yeah.
clarification.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great, that is approved. Thank you for all of your work on that.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Matt is gonna stay there, because he is going to update us on some work that he has been doing on insurance. I wanna give Matt a huge shout out, because this has not been a small lift. Was it about a year and a half ago that we found out we needed to be doing this work?
We've been discussing this for about a year and a half.
Yeah, so pretty quickly since I got here, we found out that there was a need to talk, to investigate other options for insurance for fiscal and quality of the product for our teachers and staff. And so Matt has been doing a lot of that legwork this year in research, and he's here to present he and I have talked quite a bit about it, but he'll present to you kind of where we are in the process.
So right now, just before we begin, this is an information item, we're not asking for an action this evening, we're just reporting. So basically, just as Dr. Zielinski stated, we are going through the process of evaluating our insurance products. We're currently with the current insurance. We're currently enrolled and we provide insurance to our employees as a member of the CSD Insurance Trust, which operates through the Anthem network. The plans are designed and deployed, and we provide those premiums as membership. We don't set those rates. So as our experience changes, meaning our losses, good or bad, we take on those costs in our premiums. And so we'll show that in the escalation of costs that we provided. The CSD Insurance Trust provides Anthem Medical Insurance, Delta Dental Insurance, and Anthem Vision Insurance. We currently do not provide any optional insurance outside of life insurance and dependent coverages. So our current insurance this year, for the 25-26 year, this was really when we started more of this conversation, was when the CSD Insurance Trust notified us of plan design changes. We've also been seeing premium increases that have been pretty significant over the last 2 years. We did go through plan design change this year. We communicated that to our staff members. Our staff were great to work with that. That is one of the concerns with increased pricing and decreased value of the insurance. We felt that it was a priority for us to address those issues. Beginning with this year, there was financial distress that was reported to us by the CSD Insurance Trust, if you're an auditor, right? We were notified that they were given a going concern notice this year. So that face is my face. That really emphasized to leadership my recommendation to Dr. Zielinski and Cabinet that this became more of a priority for us to pursue alternative options. So not only are we seeing erosion of our plan design changes of our insurance product, increased premiums, we're seeing a reduction in the reserves of the self-insurance pool, so how much they have in reserves in their savings accounts. And we're given a note from their auditors that says their auditors are concerned with the ability of this co-op to continue to operate. So this year, we provided short-term borrowing to the CSD Insurance Trust in the amount of $54,000. They are repaying us that amount. That's an unusual situation to pay for your membership outside of premiums. We are looking at going, if we continue with the CSD Insurance Trust, we're assuming continued increase of an escalating manner of premium increases. We're also assuming a recoupment or a recovery of the reserve balances, so that'll increase our premiums more. And then also, we've already been notified of continued plan design changes. So one of the things is that the plan that we provide right now to our employees will not exist in the next year. Which furthermore, it's not going to be better. So part of that, again, emphasized our urgency to investigate alternatives to the trust. So just kind of a quick rundown of the last 5 years of premium increases. You'll see that those increases range from 0% to 14.8%. Now that's all based upon what we call a tiering system. So like we said, it's how healthy or unhealthy our team is. In November, we were notified that our tier is going to increase again based on the preliminary data. So that's where we came up with the 19%. When we looked at last year's Tier 5 premium increases, they received 19.8% increases. We received a 14.8%. So 19% again is very much an estimate. I would assume that will be higher if we continue with this CSD Trust.
And the 14.8, just to reiterate too, was because they were able to get it to the lower amount of 14.8 with plan design changes. And so last year's plan design changes were not as, what I would say, significant to the end user, but we're kind of out of the options in the CSD Insurance Trust of things that you don't feel as much in the quality of coverage. And so we're worried about that 19% because there's not a lot of levers for them to pull right now to change that amount or lower that amount, as they were able to do. Those plan design changes took that 14%, it was about a 20-something%, and they were able to lower it with the plan design changes. So again, the quality of the product changes too when you're making those changes. So that's why for us, it was, again, all of this is why it was necessary for Matt to move forward with looking at other options.
Has our utilization as a district gone up by a bunch? Or is this unrelated?
So our utilization has increased somewhat, but what has really changed to make us, so tier 4 is better than a tier 5. So what caused us to preliminarily be placed in a tier 5 is because I call it seasonality, but what the major plan design change that occurred last year was the HRA, so the health reimbursement account, used to pay a portion of the deductible for an employee first. As of October 1st for the new plan year, that began paying second. So in September, if you know that your health insurance is going to change, and you've already met your deductible, go get whatever procedures are necessary so that we call them voluntary. Nothing's really voluntary. It's just maybe you were putting off a procedure because there are financial situations, and it became a priority within that 45-day period to try to address those issues.
Okay.
So voluntary in the healthcare industry, and you're aware of this, does not really mean that you're making voluntary choices. It means it's things that you're just choosing to not put off and you'll have to get done at some point.
We use the word elective.
Elective,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Elective is, for clarification, is knee replacements, elbow replacements, spurs.
Like you're not dying,
You're
but
not-
they're not
you're not
necessarily
immediately-
elective.
Yeah, they're not- yeah,
Quality of
exactly.
life is very
They're
impacted.
And if you've met your deductible, you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
So those are, and that, that fluctuates, whether we're 4 or 5, so it's really just about the health of the organization.
Okay.
It's why we do a co-op, because we're so small. One person with something could tip the scales. When you're in a co-op, ideally the co-op will help you balance that out. Unfortunately, right now with the CSD, it just doesn't, it's not able to do that, which is why we're looking at other
So
co-ops.
the reason why I say seasonality is because that calendar changed. So where our costs used to happen at the end of our plan, or I'm sorry, the beginning of our plan year, now they became at the end of the plan year. But because we saw more utilization in September, we saw those costs in October, which in our previous calendar would have been a lesser month. So when they looked at that, based on the previous year's spending, they saw that as high utilization. So that would push us to a tier 5, which would be closer to a 19%. One thing I do want to point out, national averages just for benchmarking purposes. I realize that's a public sector number, so we received that from the Kaiser Family Foundation. Last year we were at about the 5-year average. This year put us over that 5-year average. So again, more urgency to pursue alternatives to our current co-op. So when we went through this process, we wanted to say what were these guiding principles. So during our finance and facilities meeting, we had several more bullets that were included in this. But as we reviewed that, we said, really, what are our guiding principles here? So one was, we're not trying to dilute our health insurance. That's part of why we're performing this process. So what kind of health networks or plan options or co-ops would minimize disruption to our staff? That was our first priority. So we know that our employees, based on our mapping, are all over the St. Louis County area. Some of them are in Illinois, St. Charles County, St. Jefferson County. What that means is that there's 3 different networks that people access. So creating a narrow network environment would be detrimental to our staff. If we carved out SSM and you live in St. Charles, your health benefit has less value than it did here. So we wanted to avoid that. Is your financial wellness? So we want to be part of a co-op that's performing well. We want them to have reasonable rates. We want them to have strong reserves. And we want to have a strong why as to why we should be part of that co-op, because we have a relatively healthy group, and we want reasonable rates because we need to be able to afford them. And that's where our point 3 is really that responsibility to our staff and our district resources and our stakeholders. So we reviewed 8 different options. two consortiums, co-ops, level funding, self-insurance. Basically, if there was an option that we were aware of for health insurance, we answered the phone and we interviewed those individual organizations. We did pursue, just so that you guys are aware of this, we did investigate pricing through UHC on what they call fully insured, which means we would just purchase insurance for the school district on our own. This is the premium on a private market, this is what it would cost. If we pursued that process, it would have been a 19% increase from what we're paying right now. So we said immediately, UHC was really the comparable to Anthem. Anthem was not willing to provide us a quote because we're part of Anthem right now, and they saw that as poaching. So we were not able to get really competitive pricing. So we were left with co-ops primarily, which those were, we felt that met our needs for financial stability, lack of disruption in our plans, and then also financial and fiscal responsibility, because we can look at their history of their premium increases, their stability in their reserves, how selective they are with how they choose their membership. So part of that process, we did interview SCEC. We felt that they had high quality options. They utilized the UHC network. The plans that they discussed were options that are very similar to our currently provided plan. They also provided the options of voluntary benefits, so that could be accident, critical illness, maternity leave, long-term disability. Those are products that we currently do not offer options to our employees. So we felt that that was a value-added option, and those are things that we've been asked for. Maternity, cancer, canceling critical illness being the primary ones of those. Currently offer life insurance, we'll continue to offer that. So we did see that they had single-digit increases in their premiums over the last 6 years. I know it says 5, they gave us 6. They had some negative rates. They never issued distributions. They have never asked for one-time lump sum contributions or lending. They are very similar to the co-op that we exist in right now. They're a smaller pool. So right now, our CSD Insurance Trust is an advisory board, and then there's votes. With the SCEC, they do not have an advisory board. Every school district that operates within that organization gets a vote. They have between 10 and 15 members. Right now, the reason why I say that is because there's about 4 members that are looking to join that organization right now.
From the CSD Insurance Trust.
Yes. So we are not asking the school district to make a recommendation right now. We're providing information. We can provide any information that's requested additionally. We've been providing that information through our weekend updates, and we're more than happy to provide additional information. Are there any questions?
Are you able to see the SCEC's financial position?
Yes, we can look at their reserves. We can request that information. Currently, we already have the premiums that will be in place for next year. What we would be doing is we'd be recommending a plan that has a similar deductible to what we have now and funding the HRA through the district instead of making that part of the premium.
They told us their reserves too, and we were on the call just the other day, and I can't remember, but it exceeded what their independent auditors had told them that they needed to have.
So typically, you're looking for 2 months reserves and self-funded insurance. They have 6. I know that's not a dollar amount, but we can give you that. I have those notes back.
No, I'm looking for them, I know I have them from the call, but yeah, so that was a big concern. We don't want to switch to then that being the same situation in a year or two, and some of that we do our due diligence, but they're very selective in who they are willing to accept into their co-op, so that's helpful.
So my experience running a self-insured pool had about 1,000 lives in it. It was a requirement for that organization to maintain 3 months at that time because of billing delays. Now you can run them within a month because the timing of how billing happens daily now instead of monthly. This organization, I believe, has greater than 6 months worth of reserves. And they're not interested in letting go of those reserves based on those conversations with their reps.
They said 40%, it's sitting at 40%, but I don't have a dollar.
Are most of the districts, where are most of these districts located geography-wise?
So the majority of this group operates within Jefferson County. They're smaller school districts. So examples would be like Hillsborough, Jefferson R7, Festus. They are very selective of who they allow into their co-ops based on their loss ratios and their experience rates. So if you don't have 3 years worth of experience, they will not accept you. If you have negative experience, I do know an organization that's been denied from this co-op because their experience was not healthy enough to join.
Okay.
And we know that they are interested in working with us.
I guess
So
I made,
we-
I told them we would not give you this presentation unless they could confirm that we'd get accepted. I was like, I don't wanna get all excited and then get
Yeah,
denial letter.
we have
But no,
gone as far
they've
as-
ran all of the numbers and all of our data.
So we're supposed to have confirmation of our willingness to be accepted into the co-op, I believe, next week.
Yep.
Um,
And they've already spoken to them. I mean, the boards and the schools know that they have all of our information, so they just have to do the official waiving. And again, there may be more St. Louis County districts in the near future, although they're again not looking to absorb several, but there are a couple other ones that will be being added, likely being added.
The 54,000 that, are you saying that we lent this organization? So has that come back to us?
So we're in the process of recouping that over the next, we'll recoup it over the 9 months beginning in January. We've already received 2 months, so we'll receive that through October.
And you don't foresee any issues if we're vacating?
So we have a cost associated with the exit of our current CSD insurance trust. It's called IBNR, incurred but not reported. So it's the fees for surgeries or procedures that have occurred but we haven't gotten billing yet. We'll be responsible for those costs. We'll also be responsible for what's called an unfunded liability, which they received this year on their audit report, which was part of the reason why they were issued a going concern. So basically, they didn't have enough reserves to cover those administrative costs and those procedures that were incurred but not yet reported. So we have those costs built into our modeling. We still believe that the recommendation would be in the best interest of the school district. Over a 2-year period, we believe that there would be considerable savings to the school district.
Even with the buyout,
Even
right?
with
It's
the-
not a buyout, but
It's a cost to
cost-
exit
yes,
the program
cost to
based on the
exit the program.
bylaws.
Would this start at the beginning of the new school year for staff, or is this like in January?
So
What is the?
This first year would align with our current open enrollment period, so August would be open enrollment like it has been in the past. If ratified, this organization's team would come in and perform part of the open enrollment process. And then the rates and the plans would become live 10/1. In the future, the open enrollment would need to occur in May, and then it would follow a fiscal year. So it would be a July 1 beginning date.
there's lots of districts, you see that a lot in districts.
So we already know our rates if we were to choose to go down this avenue.
And then they come and do a lot of education and
Yeah.
help.
So that was part of our again, this compounding. So this was the first year that we had an in-person open enrollment in the last 5 years. So during COVID, there was the move to go toward a virtual enrollment. We didn't know how much feedback or click count how much engagement we were receiving from our staff. When we did our open enrollment this year, we had really positive responses from the PD committee, which I didn't know I was getting graded. So that was really positive. It was almost like it was too much, too fast. So all of the in-person open enrollment has all been received positively.
And they will do all of that
Yes.
for us, and then Matt
do
met
in
one-on-one
person.
with a lot of people to help them understand their individual situations, and Trina's been a part of it, she was on the call last week, so Trina will be a part of helping with that as well. But they have her name was Becky, I believe?
Yeah.
Yes, Becky, who does all, she won't be the one doing it, but she plans and handles all of the training to help teachers understand the changes and what that applies, because everybody's individual situation is a little bit different. But I will tell you again, I just want to reiterate for Matt, like the lifting that he did, I do believe that we have found a product that will be very similar. I mean, change is change, it's Anthem to UHC, but they even ran that 100% of the
The networks. are
thank
the
you,
same.
networks are the same, so that people aren't gonna have to worry about losing doctors and things like that. It's cost effective for the school district, we actually will probably end up saving money, and, you know, the money all comes from one pot, so that's a great opportunity for us if we're able to provide quality insurance for our staff, while being fiscally responsible. I think, it's the definition of a win-win. So, and again, it was not a small lift, and Matt's got a lot going on, and I just wanna thank him for all that research, because I think we came to a really good spot, and I feel very comfortable with this recommendation, and where we are, knowing all of the due diligence that he did, and having met with them last week. I feel really good about where we were.
Great, thank you very much.
Matt.
Thanks.
Great.
Appreciate it.
May I load legislative
Yes, please.
to you?
I'm gonna come sit over there.
All right.
If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna come sit on this side as we present. Thanks, sir. And I'm gonna sit if that's okay.
Yeah.
That feels a little weird because I'm way back here. So, I think I'm in the hot seat. All right, so today, as we talked last year, the legislation has been busy, and one of the roles is that legislative advocacy, as we talked about through MSBA and as board members. And so it's really important that you know what's going on and you can advocate. We, as Matt and I tell you all the time, we get to start every Monday morning with, you can't read this very well, but you don't need to, for what the purpose is, and I'll send it to you electronically. But every Monday morning, Matt and I start our Monday when the government is in session, when legislators are in session, learning the updates. I made changes to this presentation as of what, about 11 o'clock this morning? Based on information that we were receiving about kind of what the hot button topics are. These are important pieces of legislation. What I just shared with you is an overview of legislation that has impacted K-12 education. This is just some of it that Ed Plus and MASA were able to brainstorm their way through since 2014. So the last 12 years, the type of legislation that has an impact on education. And I think, like I said, I know you can't read all of it, and it doesn't really matter. It's the important fact is understanding that all of this legislation impacts public schools, whether financially, whether curricularly, where we have to change the curriculum or adjust the curriculum, where we have to, you know, what tests we're able to give kids, what assessments we're required to give kids. Not all of this is not a good, bad, whatever. It is all of that takes time, energy, effort. And when you're constantly trying to keep up with that legislation, it does often take away from our ability to like kind of long-term see how some of this stuff works. And it does take a lot of time and energy, and I think it's important as we talk about legislation that we understand that public schools are very regulated, which is not a good or a bad thing, but it does put pressure on public schools to be able to respond to all of these things. And I think it's important that we understand the unintended consequences. Many of these pieces of legislation have really great intent, but the impact on the schools are maybe not exactly what the intent was. So, as we advocate for public schools, as a public school, I think it's important that we know what's happening. And so all of today is just, these are the things that are hot topics right now, that are gaining traction. There's hundreds of bills filed every year. Some don't ever gain traction, some do gain traction, some, we get updates that say contact your legislators now. And so really the goal with this is just to educate, and then, as members of the public, as members of the board, what you do next or how you respond is really kind of up to you specifically, but I want to make sure you know what the impact would be on Brentwood if some of these things move forward, because some of them have a bigger impact than others, and I think it's just important for the community to know. Again, support, not support the legislation, but know what the impact is. So I really chunked the bills that are happening right now into ones that are education related and the ones that are tax related. And how those, and then again, I'm going to try to address some of them. We don't actually know how they're going to impact us yet, but these are things that are gaining traction. So we'll start with the education related topics. That wasn't supposed to be next. I'm going to come back to that one, the new construction, because that's supposed to be later. I don't know what happened. I changed this so many times, clearly I messed something up when I was going through there. So the first one is this executive order, and then there's a House bill to go with it. Because it's an executive order, this one is one that is most likely going to happen. Because the State Board of Education has been directed by the governor to have DESE create an A through F rating system for public schools. Private schools can opt into this A through F. To remind you, we already have an accountability system. It's MSIP 6. We score in the 90th, or I think we're at 95 point something, one of the highest districts. So you would think that that would equate to an A, it does. But apparently they say that it's too confusing and would like to make sure that things like continuous improvement, attendance, the fact that we do our audit on time, that those things are not included in the score anymore. And so what the governor's executive order stated that the majority of the points must come from academic achievement and academic growth, which over my 24 years in education, that's been the case previously. It was just under MSIP 6 that we added this continuous improvement piece, so there's that. So in the last 5 years, they've added the continuous improvement piece. The House Bill 2710 is attempting to make this a law. We sat in, Ronnie made it through about 30 minutes of it, and I got to sit in about an hour and a half presentation about what this could look like. This is one of those situations. For Brentwood, we're probably still going to stay in A. Good for us. Yay. For most school districts, it depends. Most states, there are states that do this already. Most states don't do the 90 to 100, they do like 75 to 100 is an A. 60, so they don't chunk it the way you would see a traditional A through F system. But if you did a traditional A through F system, the top schools are going to be the top schools. They're just going to be A's or B's, but they're going to still be ranked. I will tell you that from a school district's perspective, what concerns me is the reasoning behind this. One of the pieces of the executive order that says if 65% of the schools earn an A or a B, you have to increase the threshold by 5 percentage points. So if the public schools in the state of Missouri are doing well and 65% of them earn an A or B, you've got to raise the bar. And so there's some concerns with that shouldn't we want everybody, as a teacher, I wasn't like, oh, well, I only want 65% of my kids to get an A or a B. And if too many of them get A's or B's, then I must make it harder because there's got to be some kids getting D's and F's, right? That's just not the approach we typically take. It's what's considered a normative approach versus criterion reference. And typically in education, we want, here's the standard. Your goal should be every kid meets the standard, right? Not where you have to compare it to, somebody's always got to be in last place. So as an educator, that's some concern that we have. It is also interesting that many of the schools that would fall in the F range are charter schools, which has been an expansion, and some funding has gone that way towards charter schools, and so it's an interesting kind of piece. Private schools being able to opt in is what it is, except that private schools
But
only
they
typically
opt
accept
in?
well, you can opt in if you only take the top 20% of students are allowed to go into your school. And you opt in and all of the points come from academic achievement and academic growth, you're going to be an A rating. And public schools are going to look worse because public schools educate every single child with a disability. So you're not comparing apples to oranges, even if the system is the same. The criteria by which the students come to you are not the same. So those are some of the concerns that educators have. It's not accountability. Accountability is totally fine. What this system is going to look like, there's a lot of questions about. We don't know, so it's not something to, I would say for Brentwood necessarily, again, we keep doing what we're doing great work. I just think though, it's going to be very important that we are, again, like we say every time, telling our story. What makes us a great school district? Continue to tell that story. I don't get a lot of people calling me about our APR right now. At a 95%. I don't know how many more would call if it was an A, B, or C, but I do think there's some concerns as to how that's communicated or not communicated clearly to communities that could send a message that maybe schools are doing worse than they really are, or that you're comparing apples to apples when really you're not. So those are some concerns with that. But again, for Brentwood, you know, we are doing great work and we want to continue doing great work. And again, we just need to make sure we communicate. Any questions about this one? Again, this one is one that is something's going to happen. When it happens, how it happens exactly is going to be up in the air.
Is there financial tied to this? I mean, what's
There has been, I think the House bill, the House bill is the one that says, it has been floated out there that teachers, if a school district gets an A, teachers can get bonuses. I have
Where
all
does that
kinds of,
money come from?
yeah. Question number one, who's giving us that money? Because when we get to the taxes part, we got a bit of a pickle because there's less money than there was before. So who's gonna pay it? And again, it's not apples to oranges. You're just not, you know, some of the best teachers I've ever worked with have been in districts where would probably not get an A, but I would say they're doing some really amazing work with students that face a lot of challenges that perhaps many of our students don't. And so to give teachers grades for that is something that, or give teachers financial incentives for that feels kind of odd.
Icky.
Yes, so, but that has been floated, I think that's part of the House bill, but that's something that, again, there's no way it's gonna be able to be funded by the state, and I don't know, I don't know where that would be funded, would be a huge concern for me.
Mentioned that other states have had this.
Mhm.
Is it a new addition to other states, or has this been around a long time?
Texas and Florida are the two that they were quoting in the training, they've
Okay.
been around for a while, and they look different in both of those states. Parents' Bill of Rights, this is something that has been on the table for several years. This is Senate Bill 948. This one is interesting because most of the rights that are listed are rights that already exist. So we don't really have an issue with it. There are just a few caveats that the MASA group have questions about for clarity purposes. The way that some of the opt-out things for parents, it's more like, is this the way they're wording it so that open enrollment, like we don't understand a couple of the things as to what that actually means in real life, like in practice versus the way it's listed. But the vast majority of the things listed on here are rights that, like I said, PPRA, which is made in the 1970s, around having to ask parents permission before giving a survey that asks specific kinds of questions, particularly demographic ones. Parents have access to kids' medical and health, they have access to their academic records, so none of these, the word right there, the right to choose public, private, or parochial schools is the one that we're like, wait, what is that? Does that mean that we have to accept? Like, it's phrased in a weird way, like, right now parents have that right. But are you saying we're gonna pay for, like, what does that mean in practicality? The big difference here is the right to sue the district. Right now, all of these are really federal laws that exist. But if you feel that these rights are being violated, right now there's not a whole lot of teeth, I guess you would say. This would add the ability for parents to sue school districts if they violate any of these. So that's really the biggest impact to us is lawsuits and you know, again, continuing that that idea of what would that mean. Obviously, we try not to violate any of these rights anyway. And so that's not unusual, but adding the language of where school districts can get sued isn't a very collaborative process when you have that. This is another one that's been making the news if you have children in sports. That's supposed to be Senate bill, man. I only looked at this 1,000 times. Senate Bill 863, this is where the government wants to control MSHA. It would allow the governor, it would require the governor to appoint the board of MSHA. Right now it is a volunteer board. It's a nonprofit organization. There's reason. There's some concerns over the idea of the government just overtaking a nonprofit that is existing. There's not like financial issues. There have been some things that were appealed according to MSHA. The reason this is here is that there have been some appeals to MSHA that certain people have not liked the way they have gone, and so they felt like there should be a different ability to appeal. So education lobbyists are trying to work with the sponsor of the bill to figure out a compromise where perhaps there is an additional appeal layer for something going on, that's at a government level, but that the actual board of MSHA would continue and be able to run the way that it always has, with the ability to appeal separately. We don't know where that's gonna land, but this is one that's gaining significant traction.
Is this where they would potentially have just private schools compete against private schools and public schools compete against public schools?
We don't know what that
So
would-
it's not- or is
we-
that-
Not necessarily.
Yes.
It's not part of this bill.
Okay.
That would be whatever the new board would say.
Okay.
And so that would be something that I don't know,
Okay.
like,
Like
I
what
thought
who
I
they
saw-
would appoint.
I thought I heard
or-
something on the news about that.
Yeah, and it might be
Mistaken.
part of what their hope is,
Yeah.
but
Like, what are the issues they're trying to solve,
Yeah.
I guess, is my, we don't know.
Yeah.
You can
It depends who you
speculate.
ask.
Yeah, okay.
it would depend who
Yeah.
you ask.
Okay.
I don't know how to answer that, and
Yeah.
I get more information from MSHA than, than I do from the legislators,
Yeah.
so, as to their why. So I don't know what problem they're trying to solve. We, in St. Louis County, I mean, nothing is a perfect organization by any means, but there's not any massive issues that we're trying to solve right now. This one actually has no impact because we're already doing it, so yay. But this is a concern. House Bill 1757, where there's no the universal screening for gifted. We already do this prior to third grade. It wouldn't be a big deal for us. Again, this is just an example though of something that's unfunded and a school district that doesn't have gifted teachers or gifted screeners. We have gifted teachers and we still have to outsource some of the assessment. So it's putting a burden on schools. For us, it's not a big deal, but for other public schools, again, it's a financial cost to schools to do this. And then when we start talking about tax stuff, we'll see where some of the concerns come in with that. This kind of speaks to that legislative handout I gave you of the kinds of things that, again, nobody's arguing that this isn't an opportunity we want to provide for kids. The question just becomes, how do we fund it? You're adding more to teachers' plates. And that's just a challenge again, Brentwood is in a very, very good spot, but in public education in general in the state of Missouri, that is a challenge. And as we know, gifted teachers are hard to find. So that's another issue there too, to be able to have this in place, but then to be able to find the teachers to do it. Open enrollment, so see the thing in bold. I wrote all of that and then today it changed. So the only thing you really need to worry about is the thing in bold. Senate Bill 971 is the one gaining traction, I believe, right now. It is no longer mandatory open enrollment. They actually just switched it out. It originally was, and then the committee did a substitution and made it the same bill as last year. So it's basically saying that schools would be able to opt in, you can lose up to 3%. And we've talked about this at great length. It's really a funding situation, and it's really, for us, it's about, we could gain some students, which is great, but because we are 94% locally funded, what we would see as a school district is it would require our local community, and for a lack of a better word, subsidize students who don't live in Brentwood to attend the Brentwood school districts. Because we get, Matt, $1,200-ish a student, maybe-ish? Ballpark. If you're like on the formula, like a Lindbergh student, they get about $8,000 for that student. So if the student came to Brentwood from Lindbergh, we would only get $1,200. What happens to the remaining, whatever? Again, I can't even remember names, let alone math right now. But that remaining money would go back into a pot. The concern is that pot going to be an education pot? Or does that now go back to discretionary that can be used somewhere else? So now we're not funding education even more. And that $1,200, we just approved a $19,000 tuition rate. So the difference is that money already locally Brentwood community supports their public education, and Missouri has always said we're a local control state. When I talk about the tax bills, that's where concerns come up. That again, funding is a real concern of open enrollment, and where that money is going to go and shift around the state to make sure that schools can fund their schools. and the local communities, there's concerns around how that will impact your ability to raise taxes should you need to. As of right now, because of the substitution, the bill does allow you to set caps on how many students you could take. So that does help, how long that, who knows.
So if this was to go into place, would our tuition then kind of get wiped away?
No, it would be,
Or
well,
was-
yeah.
How would that,
So open enrollment makes the tuition almost non-existent, because it would mean anybody can go anywhere if you have room,
right?
and you get whatever funding you get. So, yeah,
Okay.
so if open enrollment passes, our tuition rate means nothing.
Yeah, okay.
And who sets the number of students that we will allow?
We, as of right now, this bill allows us to.
Okay.
So that gives you some. Again, this is one where they already tried to make it mandatory. They know that didn't guarantee it. So they've gone back to not making it mandatory. Who knows? There's just a lot of, it's a slippery slope, I think that's the concern. There's a voucher one on here that I just added today that we learned about. And again, it's an example of, it was $50 million that was supposed to come from scholarships and people donating. And that didn't work, so then it's $50 million that went into it from the state taxpayers. Now they're trying to make it $60 million and open more opportunities. So it's just, that's like where it starts and where it goes is a concern too, if it opens up. So, and we just don't know. We do know though, for every student, we would only get about $1,200 based on the current funding. If they change the funding formula, that may change, but anything they're talking about with the changing of the formula is not going to get Brentwood more money. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to, any questions about the education ones? These are ones that, right now, the open enrollment is one that, again, it gained a lot of traction and then fizzled out because of other issues that were up last year, so maybe it may or may not have an impact this year, I don't know. They will continue to keep us kind of up to date. This one, I'm sorry, I had to go back to the beginning because I did something weird with the slides, but House Bill 1766, this new construction falling under Hancock has a significant impact. Matt, if I don't use the right words, please interject with the way I describe this. We actually get a good amount. Hancock Amendment sets a limit on how much we can get. So this is where the 5% or CPI. So whichever is less is the amount of money we can get in a assessed valuation. Typically it's CPI. We haven't hit 5% that I know of in my life. But it's CPI. New construction does not qualify for the Hancock Amendment, so you can get all of that money. And it was done on purpose when the Hancock Amendment was written, because the idea of if you build more homes, you will need more firefighters, you will need more police officers, you will need more elementary schools. Imagine if you're in Wentzville, for example, and all the new construction that is going out and you're having to build an entire new high school, and you're having to build an entire new elementary school. The money's gotta come from somewhere. So Hancock purposely did not include new construction so that you could take the full value. Matt was able to give us the numbers on just the last 2 years of how much money we would lose as a district if new construction was not included. And so it's over $500,000. And on a $20 million operating budget over the course, just this small thing that may not seem like a big thing is $500,000. So it is a very big thing. It is a very big thing. And it's not just us, it's fire, it's police, it's any public taxing entity. So I actually met with the mayor for coffee last week, and he did not know about this. So I shared with him that he should probably pay attention to this legislation as well. This is legislation that would have a very big impact, not just on schools. And so this is one that I would, I think it's very important that people know about, because I think it seems like not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal. And we're a landlocked district, so again, imagine this is how much we're getting, imagine some of the other districts.
So are you saying that Wentzville, your example, there's a piece of farmland and they converted it into a subdivision?
Mm-hmm.
And the taxes stay what the farmland was?
I don't know if it would stay the farmland, or if it would stay, you'd only get the 5% or
If it's
the,
rezoned, it would be taxed and assessed at the new rate, but it wouldn't come on the roll as new property. Because when your new property comes onto your tax roll, if you're subject to the Hancock Amendment, then your levy should drop because your assessed valuation's growing. But because it's new construction, for the first year that it comes on the tax roll, it doesn't reduce your levy. In the second year it does.
Okay.
So the example of turning ag into residential isn't quite correct because you're still able to assess at a higher rate.
than agriculture would be. Maybe Wentzville was not the greatest example. But it's still,
How about all the building of the new homes just by itself?
yeah,
Instead of conversion? So all of those new homes would add assessed valuation, but your levy would continue to fall. So you would have no influx of additional revenue to support all of these new families and children.
Because it's that one time,
It's one time.
it's that first year when you get the big,
you would get the big amount, and then
Amount
it goes
to
back
cover,
under
right.
where you get the
and then it goes back. down.
regular, underneath the Hancock Amendment.
So this is any new construction not limited to residential?
My understanding is this is all new construction.
That, yeah, that was my understanding too, it was not just
So
residential.
conceptually, if we had new development on a nearby street, that was heavily tax abated, we probably wouldn't be able to.
So tax
Could have done the
abatements
first
are a
year
good
anyway.
one, because when a tax abatement expires right now, when that tax abatement expires, it becomes new construction.
Oh, at that
So
point.
in
okay.
the situation of a tax abatement, it would never benefit the school district. It would add to the AB,
Mm.
Okay,
which
so
would
this-
become a reduction of the revenue, so we would get
Yeah,
5% maybe?
okay, so that 1 year after they're added still. Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
Uh-huh. And it's a lot of money when, I'm trying not to
There's
be
other
too political,
pieces
but
of
there,
stuff.
the other piece is, it's a lot of money when there are a lot of other things happening around taxes and funding, and the state is gonna be $1 billion in the hole next year, and they're already starting to cut programming and education, and one other thing that I can't think of is one of the largest investments our state makes, and we're still 50th out of 50 in the percentage that the state of Missouri pays towards public education. So when you cut these things at the local level, it makes it very difficult. To be honest, at the state level, anything changing state level isn't gonna make a huge impact on us in Brentwood. But any of these things that are impacting our local level really have a huge impact on us. This personal property cap, this is another example where they wanna cap, again, it's the lesser of CPI or 3%. Right now, it's, the Hancock Amendment is the lesser of CPI or 5%. It'll lower our funding, we don't know how much because of, it depends what CPI is, right? So, some years it wouldn't have affected us at all, some years it would. It's a harder one to kind of pinpoint, but again, you're limiting our ability to fund when you're also not funding us at the state level. So, this is another one. This is a big one. It has lots of pieces to it. Unfortunately, the omnibus bills are. We just had a few in education a couple of years, 2 years ago, I guess. We had one that went through that was a big omnibus bill. That there were lots of really great things in there, and there's some not so great things in there. But because of the great things, it passed, which is good. And then there's the other stuff that all costs money, and the state doesn't have money for it. So a lot of the things that they changed the budget at the state level was because they had to fund that bill, because they said they would. So anyway, there's a lot of legislation that the state actually can't fund, even though they make it legislation. There's a couple things on here that are important for us as a school district. As you know, if we do not raise our, I think it is better to say no tax rate increase anyway in bond language, but a lot of school districts will use the no tax increase, and they want it to be more clear that it's a no tax rate, that technically you would have to roll back your taxes if you didn't actually vote on this. So it's just making sure that the bond language is more transparent, which is not a bad thing, but All tax increase ballots have to be in November. There's some concerns. Also, this one, I believe, also has the board members have to be in November too. There's a bunch of other things on here. Concerns around that just being very political, depending upon the year, in what is supposed to be an apolitical position. This assessing buildings using replacement costs. They said some places already do this, some places don't, so this is a kind of, who knows. Senate Bill 3 and Senate Bill 190, more impactful. I don't actually even know what that means, but Senate Bill 190 cost Brentwood about $49,000 a year, which is not very much. That's the senior citizen tax freeze. I will tell you that a district like Parkway, it's about $3.5 million, I think. I think they're at $3 million. The Dew is about $2 million. So other districts had a much bigger hit on that. Senate Bill 3 right now is not impacting St. Louis County. So I don't know if that means it would extend to St. Louis County where it would limit your, what does it limit the?
It would extend both of these universally throughout the state of Missouri. Senate Bill 3 would impact St. Louis County. There would be no requirement from a vote of the county to adopt these. There are several counties in the state of Missouri that chose not to adopt SB 190 or SB 3. So it would take away the local approval process of those two items.
And as I said, it has the same new construction language as House Bill 1766 that we just talked about. And then it would reduce the Hancock Amendment to minimum levy from $2.75 to $1.50. And I don't know what that would be.
There's some rural schools that have never been able to pass a levy, so they've been operating at $2.75 forever. Like there's a school called Climax Springs, which is a tiny school, and to move them to $1.50 with no safeguards,
You can't exist on that. So that would be a reduction in funding too. So all of that, and again, it's an omnibus bill. We don't know necessarily how much, where the traction will go on this one, but they told us to keep an eye on it. So every Monday, they tell us what's happened the week before, what's gaining more traction. We can update you in the weekend update, but these are the big ones. And what I have found over the last few years is these bills that come out kind of now, you typically are seeing refinement, tweaking, them merging with another bill, you know, finding ways to kind of get together. So these are just some examples. I haven't even talked about like the income tax or anything like that because that hasn't really been brought up. Again, from Brentwood, it actually wouldn't have that big of an impact because we get such limited money from the state. But there's just a lot of bills to cut taxes when the state is going to be at a deficit next year, and the concern is how are you going to fund the things that you're committed to funding. I mentioned,
Can I ask a quick question? So going back to assessing buildings using replacement cost, is that personal property or is that the buildings here? Is that local or is that, would be statewide?
That's
Is that all of our
statewide.
property?
Statewide
It's a
application,
statewide, yeah.
Oh, so that could have a big impact.
Uh-huh.
especially
Big
in
impact.
metropolitan areas.
Yeah, that was their biggest, they talked about metropolitan areas being the biggest
Yeah, yeah.
one. So all of this, these are things that are important, and I'll be honest, a lot of this tax stuff, hearing from public superintendents, they don't want to hear from us anymore, they know we want funding. Like, so I think it's important that people educate themselves of like, it's not that anybody wants to pay taxes, but do you understand what the impact will be on schools? Because if the state can't, and again, Brentwood and some of these or others has more or less of an impact, but the money's gotta come from somewhere. That $1,200 we get per student isn't a lot, but like I said, they're already redoing the formula. If there's not money, it's still $1,200 a student. Where are we making up that money? This is why when we, went in with these kinds of bills, and this is where when we educate the teachers too, this is a big thing for our lobbyists to talk through, is educating people. I never paid attention to this stuff prior to being in a central office role where it impacted my job, but it actually impacts teachers a lot and understanding this. And everybody's a taxpayer and everybody has a legislator. So just encouraging you wherever you feel. I do think it's very important we do educate our legislators on the impact. We do fiscal notes when possible to let them know the impact that it will have on public education. Often they don't realize it. Like I said, intent and impact don't always go hand in hand when they're writing this. As we have mentioned, Ray Reid, I have gotten lots of texts and phone calls from him since the legislative session started, just to give like talking points as he's thinking through how this would impact different schools. And so we have a huge advocate in him, and that's wonderful. Just a couple last few things. We already talked about the senior citizen tax freeze for us. It was a little bit less than we had predicted, and we've updated our projections. But luckily, Matt had already, he had used the formula that was shared and was pretty spot on, so it didn't really impact us any differently than we had expected, which is great. However, just remember that you can apply every year, and more and more people will hit that 62 mark, or whichever one it is now. And then this was a bill, Katie, you had mentioned that you wanted to talk a little bit about. This has not gained much traction. We didn't say anything yesterday, did they? They have not brought it up. This is the House Bill 2933. It's not called the SSD bill, but I don't know what it was called. This language was proposed to allow individual St. Louis County public school districts to opt out of partnering with the special school district and bring special education services in-house. It would require a majority vote from the school board, and then that vote would be to put it on the ballot, and then the public would have to vote. The idea being, when we talk about impact on Brentwood, there are the districts that have, the district that has supported this has said that their board would like more local control over special education services. For a district like Brentwood, it would be about $4 million that is tax dollars that go to the special school district that would hypothetically come back to the school district. There are a lot of questions about what that would look like, because if you just got $4 million, typically there's a lot of levers in place that you don't get to collect all of that money, and what does that do to your rate? Because Brentwood has set a certain rate. If you add the rate for SSD, where does that go? There's a lot of logistical questions as to what that would even mean. As I said, it's not, they haven't said anything about this kind of having gained traction. I think where people, it's the dual system is Trevina and I have talked about this, there's the level of bureaucracy that comes with that. And with SSD currently and fiscal constraints, there is, some districts are kind of at a point where they're like, well, we could go at it ourselves. There are a lot of concerns with students, like kind of what we call low incidence, where you may only have 1 or 2 students that have some significant special needs that the special school district are really able to help out in partner districts. So there's a lot of reasons for why this was proposed. I think it's every individual district. There's a lot of concern about what this would do if it passed for equity in St. Louis County. All systems have pros and cons. All school districts have pros and cons. And the partnership between the special school district and Brentwood and St. Louis County has existed for over 50, 60 years. So it would require a lot of conversation, is what I would say. If this bill passed, it would require a lot of conversation, a lot of looking at data, a lot of deciding kind of where we would be. And I value our partnership with SSD. I think we all agree that there is room for improvement, just like there's room for improvement, for us as a district. But there are so many unknowns. I don't even know until this would even pass. There would be lots and lots of conversations with SSD, with Trevina at the table, and with our partners at SSD before we would ever even consider going down this road. Any questions about that one? I know there were a couple that were brought up. Like I said, they've not told us it's gaining any traction. And then today, actually it was yesterday, but I didn't watch the Zoom that. I forgot it. They usually change it when we're off. They usually move it to Tuesday, and they didn't move it to Tuesday, so that was my fault. 2 new bills that were passed. Oh, well, I didn't even put it's, the second bullet that's not on there is actually the open enrollment one that they changed, so it's okay. I'm sorry. I told you guys it was a day. This is why we can't have board meetings on Mondays. Like, they have to be on Tuesdays. I had uploaded this so many times. I'm sorry. So the major bill that that brought up today, besides the open enrollment, where they went back to it being the same one as before to gain more traction, is Senate Bill 998. This is the voucher program. It's called Missouri Scholars. It already exists. Last year, if you'll remember, the governor put $50 million into it. The year before, it was supposed to be a program where people would put in tax credit dollars, or they put in tax dollars, donate it, and get a tax credit back. And they had hoped to fund it with $50 million through that way. It didn't work. So then the governor in his budget put $15 million into the voucher program. And only students who had an IEP or made less than 300% of the poverty line could participate in the voucher program. This would increase it to $60 million, and then you just have to be diagnosed with a disability. There were concerns like how broad that is, and whatever the disability could be. They gave some examples that I think were a little far-fetched, but that is the concern, is that you don't have to have an IEP. You no longer have to, the other one did require that you attend a public school for 1 semester. So that the money had been at the public school if it was being transferred, but now you no longer have to attend the public school. And then schools are not required to be accredited. So homeschooling could technically qualify, and some other ones. There's just, again, this one is a concern, again, that money, when it's one thing when it was a tax credit for people to donate into it, but right now it's money that's coming out of the state budget. And that is, originally the money was actually carved out of the money that was supposed to go to general public education. The legislator did have the governor fund all of the public education, fund the entire amount that was requested for public education, and then he added the $50 million to the budget. There's just, again, the money comes from somewhere. And so the biggest concern is where.
There's a lawsuit, some people have filed attacking that because of the, I guess, private inurement.
Yeah.
And I don't know the status of that.
It's continuing. They update us on it. There's not been any major changes in it, but yes, there was several school districts that came together to sue against that because it's public money for private. That's the argument, is that because it can go to religious schools and things like that. So, yeah. So we don't know where that stands. Obviously, if that would get overturned, this would as well. But I don't know where or how long that will take. I know there's other states that have made it all the way. There's some Supreme Court cases that are being heard on this, so that would, depending on how those are heard or what's found there, whether it's just returning it to the state or making it universal process. There's also some federal legislation in the One Big Beautiful Bill that does something very similar for your federal taxes, SGO, which stands for something. I just learned about it at my conference last week, that you can donate $1,700 and it's a dollar for dollar match for a tax credit. And you can donate it to a SGO.
Scholarship granting organization.
What was that?
Scholarship granting
Yes,
organization.
and so private schools can become these scholarship granting organizations, but so can public schools. So there has been a lot of conversations around, how does this public school become an SGO, so that people can donate money to that. Anyway, that's federal legislation that did pass, that does exist, and will be having an impact. But there's a lot of unknowns on how to do that at the state level right now. So once we learn more, we'll keep you guys posted on that. But so this concept is very similar to what was passed at the federal level. All right, rays of sunshine for all of the great things that are happening. So this is how I start my Monday. So I just wanted to share that with you all.
Great.
But I do, like I said, I think, you know, the whole purpose of this is knowledge is power. I do think that legislators do listen and hear what we're trying to say when we talk about the impact. And oftentimes they just don't know. And so, one, we keep doing what we're doing, keep telling the great story of the work we're doing, and I think we can, you know, wave the tide of some of this, but I do think the funding is a real concern. And limiting our ability to fund is very concerning, especially at the local level.
Thank you, this was helpful. I mean, the legislative updates from MSBA are good, but this is nice because it reflects exactly what will happen in Brentwood.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder to reach out if we want to voice concerns or tell a
That's what
story.
And we'll kind of circle back around towards the end of the legislative session, so this is the beginning. You know, if anything would change dramatically in any of these, I will keep you posted through the weekend update. And then, you know, as we get towards the end of the legislative session, we will kind of let you know where certain things are. And
When
if
is
anything
the
else
end
comes
of
up.
the session?
May,
Is
it's
that
usually
May?
May,
June?
May 16th-ish, I think it was last year,
Okay.
mid-May.
There's a variety of sources where you can get these kinds of information. There's a St. Louis County PLC,
Mhm.
they've had some meetings. MSBA has their things and their advocacy day. I don't know if I'm gonna go to that. That's always been frustrating to me because it's hard to really talk to somebody. And the people that represent us in this part of the county tend to be Democrats, and they tend to say, well, yeah, all that stuff's stupid and wrong. I haven't accomplished anything. I'd like to talk to a Republican and have us talk reason or something, but that's kind of impossible. But maybe that being said, I think something that people who are opposed to this, if you could arm them with the fact that that open enrollment thing, because of funding, has some wildly disparate impacts on districts like ours. You know, if you're out in rural Missouri, you know, if you want to drive down the road to the next town, it probably doesn't make as much difference because they're all getting funded the same way, and we're not. And so I guess maybe you could arm the people who are already against this kind of stuff with some information like that, because they may not know it.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway.
I think that's the thing for me that's the most important, is helping. How schools are funded is so complicated, and so many people don't have a clue of, and you just don't pay attention. Like, yes, my taxes, and yes, I see my personal property tax, but understanding that there are limits, you know, even if your tax bill goes up, that doesn't mean we're getting all that money. And I just think educating people, I think, is really important. I agree with you, Keith. I sometimes go to these meetings, and I've become much more cynical than I am as a general human, where I'm like, okay, the people that, like you said, represent us, support us, so, and the people who don't aren't gonna listen to a superintendent. So I get a little frustrated, but I do think it's important for our community to know, because I also think it matters who we send to represent us, and continue to make sure that the people we send, regardless of political party, understand, one, what amazing things public schools are doing for kids, which is what I do like about the Advocacy Day, where we get to highlight what our students are doing. And I think, you know, that the narrative, whether it's an A through F system or whatever it may be, what we are doing for kids every day, regardless of their test scores, is really quite impressive. And even the districts who may not score an A are doing work that support communities and make differences in kids' lives. And I just think that story gets drowned out by a small percentage that don't understand what's really happening, and I just think our voices need to be louder. I think that's it. We knew with insurance and legislation it was going to be a long night. I don't know if our poor Boy Scouts, you guys are troopers.
We will
You are
hustle through
troopers.
ours.
I know two of you have to ride home here. But
And just so you know, of all the people sitting here, I'm the one who could go apply for that property tax.
Have you?
No.
thank you. I didn't let my dad do it either. I told my dad he couldn't.
54,000? No. I'm offended by it. But I thank you young people for paying taxes on my behalf.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's why I worked hard, so I'd have enough money so I could afford this when I'm an old man. And now you guys are gonna support me anyway, so thank you.
Anything for you.
Money well spent. Okay, well, that moves us into Board of Education very quickly. And we've got one policy, MSBA policy IKF. I could get a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve MSBA policy IKF.
Second?
All right, discussion? Right, all in favor say aye.
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 Perfect. MSBA delegate report, we really just did get a whole.
Yeah, I was gonna-
MSBA information, so
You got a report?
I don't have a report.
everything Amy said.
Ditto.
Great, and then special school district.
So our next, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, our next governing council meeting is on Monday, March 2nd. And so we got the board packet, or the governing council packet last week, and I just submitted several questions about both the audit and then the upcoming 26-27 budget that they're putting together. With some concerns about fund balances, so I had questions about their fund balance projections. And I'll let you guys know what they say. Oh, and we're voting on candidates for several spots on the board as well. So I will report back.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Katie. Thank you for paying such close attention and submitting questions.
I try.
I love it. I love it. You're a wonderful delegate for us to have on that group. And then board committee updates.
There's one recently with Ronnie for teaching and learning on the 12th. We talked through curriculum update cycles, AI, and middle and high school programming schedule. So a lot of great information, a lot of great work being done today.
Yeah, good conversation. Good discussion. Lots of different ideas. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
It was an hour, like a really good, solid hour of work, and then we were out of there.
Most efficient meeting person
I
ever.
was impressed.
Probably because she has 72 committees.
She was ready to go on time, and we were out of there on time. So it was great. Yeah. Okay. Any other? We're going to be rolling into spring meetings, I think, here really soon. 353.
Nothing new?
Perfect.
Yep.
And then we have our list of upcoming events. The delegation or advocacy day is March 10th. I'm not sure I'm going either. Are you?
I might try. I never go, and I feel guilty.
I got other things going on that week. I could go probably, but so if you want to carpool,
Yeah.
let me know. I'm a little ambivalent about it.
That's kind of where I'm at. But yes, I'm gonna try to tell myself I'm gonna go, but I have a feeling that week of Amy may say no. But yes, I want to go, but I don't know. We'll see.
We have a board policy meeting on the 3rd.
We are gonna have that policy meeting. We have a few that are outstanding, and then we would like to also add the insurance just for a vote. So if you have any questions between now and then, if you could let me know. And then, yeah, so it should be a fairly short one. But.
Great. And the other big event, along with other meetings, is our Senior Citizens Brunch, March 25th at 9 a.m. It's such a super fun event. Let Kate know if you're going to be there, right?
Yes.
I thought I saw that something was saying it was in April, but it's March 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, the student recognition is in April.
I don't know. I must have missed it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it'll,
that's good.
March 25th. I had a neighbor on my street ask me about it just a couple days ago. Somebody got a postcard about it, and she hadn't yet, and she's very excited. So
And if they go to the coffee with the mayor, if anybody goes to coffee with the mayor, I will be there handing out all of those
nice.
cards. So hopefully we'll get a bigger turnout.
Great.
May I add one
He,
thing?
I think that date was from, in the weekend update, I think that was from last
There
year.
were some dates that were incorrect in the weekend
Oh,
update.
you saw it too, Katie?
Yes, I
They
did.
were.
Did you cut and paste from last year?
I probably went to the wrong assembly. I did, I cut and pasted from Kate, so I don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Clearly, I missed the boat on that.
There were some dates marked,
I was like,
recognized them too, so that's okay.
I was at the airport and I was trying to get all my work done before Saturday, and clearly I did not proofread it, so I apologize.
No problem.
I'm a wreck today.
So, yes, so that's.
Well, I was kind of hoping it would be after I'm not on the board anymore and I could come
Yeah.
only as a senior.
Make you speak.
And it is at the high school, middle
Yes.
school cafeteria again, correct?
Yes, it is.
Kate, did you have something?
Yes, just to remind folks, if you
Well,
haven't
we had
submitted
like
your,
that last year, but
your MEC
most times it's
personal
been
financial
last year
filing,
was
it's due by May 1st.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for always reminding us.
Mhm.
You may have to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, board? Okay, well, we'll get a motion to adjourn.
Move that you adjourn. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, and roll
Aye.
call, please.
Mark Cicero.
Yes.
Katie Clark.
Yes.
Brian Dodson.
Yes.
Ryan Flynn.
Yes.
Keith Ravenberg.
Yep.
Katie Paul.
Yes.
Lindsey Spencer.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. All right, thanks everyone for
Thank
coming
you,
and
everyone.
staying.
Yes, thank you,
Good
boys.
information.
Did a great job.
You did a great job.
Should have made.
Was that like a community service hour?
Bye, Katie, feel better,
Yeah,
get some
you should
rest.
get better.
That's awesome. Bye.